Welcome, everybody, to another Village Torah with me, your host, Rabbi Drew. We are talking about this week's Torah portion, which is Tetzaveh. Now, this is not a typical portion as far as storytelling goes. There are some Torah portions that are just chock full with stories, some that really we could unpack for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. There's just so much, especially narrative-wise, story-wise, so much to unpack. This week's Torah portion is, I don't think it really is not about the narrative. It's not about the stories. Really what's going on is instructions as far as really two things. One is clothing, and the other is sort of the furniture stuff going on in the Mishkan. Now, I know last week, Ben wrote in his Devar Torah in the Shabbat newsletter about some of the setup of the Mishkan, which is in English, that's the Hebrew, is Mishkan. In English, we typically translate it as tabernacle, maybe sanctuary. I think the most literal translation is almost like a residence. It's really like God's residence. The root of Mishkan is shachan, so we talk about residing. So it's God's residence. It's his dwelling in the Jewish people. Now it's kind of like it's like a mobile apartment, sort of. It's a mobile home. It's God's mobile home amongst the Jewish people. And I think Ben wrote, if I remember correctly, in his Devar Torah, we don't typically think of mobile homes befitting God. It's not really the regal residence that we want to think of for the divine, and yet it's well appointed. It's got not only gold, really lovely linen, lovely tapestry, and really gorgeous stuff going on. Some of the things that we have, just to mention a few, are some of the altars. So we have one altar, which is sort of the main altar. We also where we would offer up sacrifices. Another is a specific altar just for incense. So just for offering incense, and it's that's towards the end of the parasha. So where we talk about, actually, one of the interesting lines that I don't think that I had caught before was specifically not to offer up certain types of sacrifices, libation or otherwise, on the incense altar. That's really designated specifically for incense. And then the regular altar is where we would offer up sheeps and do our regular other sacrificing. So those are some of the aspects involved, some of the furniture. I would say it's the furniture of the Mishkan, whereas last week it's sort of more to the broader setup. This week is more about the furniture of the Mishkan, but also the people serving in the Mishkan. So specifically I want to say the Kohanim, the priests, but more specifically, and something I'm going to focus on here, is the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. So the Kohen Gadol has a whole bunch of specifically designed garments that no one else is to wear. So really just one person amongst the entire Bnei Israel, amongst the entire Israelite nation, is a set of 8 specific garments, really from head to toe. The way it's referencing is Aaron, because Aaron is Moses's brother. He is the first Kohen Gadol, the first sort of the chief priest, the high priest, and he has a lot of things. So amongst all of them, makes sacred vasisa bigdei kodesh la'aron achicha, make sacred vestments for your brother for kavod ultiferes, for dignity and adornment. So here they are. These are the vestments we have in Exodus 28, chapter 28, verse 4. Breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a fringed tunic, a headdress, and a sash, and they shall make these. And I think these are in addition to the regular priestly garments. So he has special stuff. One thing, and I'm not going to go into all these details of all the non-ingredients, the aspects of just even thinking about this. The shoulder pieces has a decorated band, one piece with it of gold, of blue, purple, crimson yards, of fine twisted linen. Then take 2 lazuli stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone. Okay, so it's really gorgeous. It's phenomenal, expensive aspects going into This is not, I don't know, sackcloth. Okay. This is not sackcloth. It's not some just wool they're just slapping over the high priest. This is some gorgeous material. Obviously, it'll stand out. I also, one thing I actually have never considered until just this moment is if this person is wearing a breastplate with a bunch of stones on it, I wonder how heavy that would be for the wearer. I don't know. Definitely not light. Okay. And there's a whole bunch more. Make frames of gold, 2 chains of pure gold, braid these like corded work. Okay. Now it goes on. We could talk about maybe for next year a whole separate thing just about this breastplate of this first row of carnelian, chrysolite, emerald, turquoise, sapphire, and so forth. But one thing I actually was thinking about that I wanted to talk about this week was the thing that, I do want to mention, this is really neat, which I'm sure lots of people, this is a really fascinating thing. It's not even what I want to talk about. The hem. The hem of this garment has pomegranates of blue, purple, and crimson yarns all around the hem, with bells of gold between them all around. And Aaron shall wear it while officiating, so that the sound of it is heard when he comes into the sanctuary before the Lord, and when he goes out, that he may not die. So it's making all of the sound. He can't walk in or walk out without anybody knowing that he's there. Kind of like we think of, I don't know, maybe I want to say like a cow or a dog with a music bell of some sort around its neck. So he can't go anywhere walking around without people knowing he is there audibly. But that's not even what I wanted to focus on. It's specifically here in still chapter 28, but now verse 36 of, I'm going to read the Hebrew, but I'll translate it. Va'asisa tzitz zahav tahor ufitatcha alav pituche chotam kodesh ladonai. You shall make a frontlet of pure gold and engrave on it the seal inscription, holy to the Lord. So just for a little context, a little bit, go a couple of verses forward, suspended on it a cord of blue so that it may remain on the headdress. It shall remain on the front of the headdress. It shall be on Aharon's forehead, that Aaron may take away any sin arising from the holy things that the Israelites consecrate from any of their sacred donations. It shall be on his forehead at all times, to win l'ratzon lahem lifnei Adonai, to win acceptance for them before the Lord. So it's an I don't know that all of the other garments here have reasons attached to why are we wearing, why is Aaron, why is the Kohen Gadol, why is the high priest wearing this garment or that? We certainly, just going back to the most recent thing, why is it that he has to wear these things? All the sound makers, right? The bells of gold. Okay, so we clearly get that they will make sound. Why do we need to know that he's around? Do we have to? I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure that'd be really fascinating for next year to explore that a little bit further. Of what does that achieve? What does that accomplish? Maybe it's so that we're on our best behavior when the Kohen Gadol is around. If he's such a holy person, we have to be on such high behavior. We have to be really good. But here we have a very clear reason of this frontlet of pure gold. Okay, so it's on the forehead, and there's a cord of blue, I guess, that's keeping it attached to the headdress. And then it says 2 words. So in English, when we say holy to the Lord, that is 4 words, but really we just have, I don't know, for those who can see it on the screen, it's just 2 words. It's Kodesh Lashem, holy to the Lord. So we have an interesting Talmudic discussion about how is this actually broken out? How does this actually look? So in this early rabbinic teaching from the 2nd century of the Common Era, it says this, we'll just call it the front plate. It's in Hebrew, it's called the tzitz, but we'll just say it's the front plate. So the front plate is a type of plate made of gold that is 2 finger breadths wide and stretches from ear to ear. So 2 finger breadths is just literally 2 finger breadths. So if we're just to use my forehead as the model forehead, so it's here, the 2 fingers, and written upon it are 2 lines, Yud Hey above, so basically like God, Yud Hey above, and then Kodesh Lamed below. Okay, so Kodesh Lashem, holy to the Lord. That's really interesting. So that's what that says. I'm not exactly sure how that works. Yud Hey above, Kodesh Lamed. It works in the, it's not what any of us would have thought, because it actually turns out, if I were to say that in English, so it means um, Lord holy two, or almost too holy. I think what happens is, um, I think it's supposed to work in reverse. Maybe the way that from the high priest's eyes, it would be holy to the Lord. And so it works in a way that we would not have considered, we would not have thought. But now we have a really interesting statement. Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi was a mid second century, one of the leading mid second century sages. So Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi, would probably be late second century, maybe turn of into the third century. He says, I saw it in Rome. I saw with it. Now, just to give us a sense, he is living here the turn of the third century, maybe late second century. The temple has lain in ruins for over a century. The temple was destroyed in 70 of the Common Era, so no one has seen it. No one has used it. How is it supposed to look? Now, this first opinion that says, you do like holy to the Lord, but in an ascending fashion away from the high priest's eyes, which is not how any of us would have expected it. So that's what's being said. But now Rabbi Eliezer is saying, you know what? We don't have to theorize. We don't have to talk about it as how we think it might be. Guess what? I visited Rome, and Romans are the ones who sacked the temple. So they sacked the temple in 70 CE, and they carted off a lot of goods to Rome. And he said, I visited Rome. I live in Israel, but I visited Rome. I saw in Rome, and upon it was written, sacred to the Lord, on one line. It was all there on one line, just straight across. We don't have to have one line here, one line here. No, straight across, holy to the Lord. So that's a really interesting reporting. So this reminds me. So why would this be in Rome in the first place? So there is this, I want to say, famous relief. I've never been to Rome, so I don't actually know how really famous this is. But from what I've heard, it's pretty famous. So this, what we have pictured here on screen, is from the Arch of Titus, is this huge relief that is from the Arch of Titus, showing the spoils of Jerusalem being brought into Rome. And very clearly amongst them is, well, something that's quite a notable and very noticeable symbol of the Holy Temple was the menorah. We have the menorah. There are other items that are being carted off, the spoils, so to speak, of having destroyed the temple. The Romans took these items from the temple. Menorah is one. I'm not, it looks like trumpets, and there's probably some other things going on. So this would be why Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi, would like, why are these things in Rome? This is from the temple. What, they don't have to do archaeology. They didn't have to do the digging, all the good stuff, the valuable stuff. I mean, that's why that's definitely a good reason to sack anywhere, or to take away its goods, is because it's valuable. Maybe it's got valuable metals. And I don't know if they ever found this. I don't know if some of these things might be collecting dust in the basement of the Vatican. I really don't know. But clearly for Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi, he happened to see this. He saw this. I don't know where, if they had, I don't know, maybe 17 centuries ago, they had 18 centuries ago, maybe 18 centuries ago, they had some sort of museum in Rome, or some place where they were showing off these items that were stolen, pillaged, sacked from the Hebrew temple in Jerusalem, that had been destroyed in 70 CE and carted off to Rome. But he saw it. And certainly, look, we don't know from the verse that we have in this week's Torah portion how those words should be laid out on this seats, on this front plate for the Kohen Gadol. We don't know. And it's interesting that we have this strange rabbinic opinion of, well, maybe you make it ascending from the eyes, which is, I would not have expected it. But maybe that opinion, that rabbinic opinion, it's more meant for the, I don't know, it reminds me when driving on the roads. So it's not a regular sign, but sometimes when driving, that you would see something. I don't know. It would say, I don't know, caution speed bump, let's say. So it would say caution, but you drive another 20 feet, it'll say speed, and then another 20 feet bump, right? So maybe that's kind of what it is, that it's on one line, it says like to holy and then God. Or maybe the idea is that you have God above being holy. I don't know. But clearly what Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi, saw, what he reported, what he witnessed in Rome, was that it's just simply on one line. There's probably enough space width-wise on that seats, on that front plate, that it can just say it in one line, that anybody can read it just easily. So just an interesting thing that we have in this week's Torah portion of being reported of 17 centuries ago, 17 and a half maybe, as having been viewed or otherwise witnessed, having been carted off to Rome. And I will say that's not typical for the Talmud, for the rabbis to bring in proofs from stuff that they've seen, having been stolen or otherwise carted off to Rome. Usually it really remains, these debates remain just sort of more within the realm of logic. But here it's an interesting turn for something this one particular rabbi happened to have seen for himself in Rome. So I just thought it'd be an interesting thing where something we have in the Torah portion interweaves with, I admit, unfortunate history, right? It's not a good thing that the temple got sacked by the Romans and a lot of the goods were carted off to Rome, but really fascinating interplay that we witness and that we see within this week's Torah portion. Do you have any questions?
No, I understand this week's Torah portion is basically all around the dress or garb that he was wearing, correct?
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, between the garments, the vestments of the Kohen Gadol, and also I would like to say the furniture of the Mishkan of the tabernacle. So that, yeah, those are the two big things. Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. It's not, I mean, that's one of the strange things about this week's Torah portion, also last week's Torah portion, is that it's not like a lot of things we've had earlier in the book of Exodus, as far as things that we can do in our day-to-day lives of practical commandments. These are, we don't have the tabernacle. We certainly don't have the temple at the moment. It's not standing. 70, it was destroyed. So these things are not at the exact moment things we're able to put into practice, but there's still what for us to study and to inquire about. So, I decided, let's talk about this front plate that was seen in Rome.
I think that was interesting.
Thank you.
I really did. I learned things.
Oh, great.
Thank you for sharing.
All right. Well, my pleasure, Debbie. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. And absolutely.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Before we go, I just want to say a special thank you and acknowledgement to the Jewish Home of Cincinnati. All Jewish life and programming here at Cedar Village are due to the financial support of Jewish Home of Cincinnati. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and Shabbat Shalom.